You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Out of eligibility, number one, you got Eddie Lampkin, the transfer from Colorado. He averaged 12 and 10 with an Evan Maya defensive rating of 0.88, which was actually second on the team. I mean, the fact that Eddie Lampkin was Syracuse's second best defender this season tells you all you need to know about how bad Syracuse basketball's defense was this year. But I digress. Eddie Lampkin also had the highest performance rating on the team this season with a 2.67. That would have ranked third on the team a year ago. I think Eddie Lampkin came in and performed as advertised. He's someone that can score a little. He can rebound at a high rate, particularly on the offensive end. One of the best offensive rebounders in the ACC. He's a very good passer for a big man, but he's just not really a good defender. He's just not. Would I have liked him back? Yes, I would. Would I have liked him back at an $850,000 price tag, which was what was reported at Syracuse.com by Mike Waters in that article about last offseason in the transfer portal? No. We've talked about center strategy here on this podcast, and I don't think that middle tier centers are worth what they're asking for. I just don't think it's good business. I think Syracuse is better off getting one of the top transfer centers in the portal this offseason or just leaving it alone and loading up on guards and wings, because you can get better guards and wings for cheaper than you can get a center. All things being equal, though, would I have liked Eddie Lampkin to come back? I would have, but he cannot. You got Jyare Davis, a transfer from Delaware. He averaged 9 points and 5 rebounds on 53% shooting from the field and 43% shooting from the three-point line. I definitely did not see that coming from Jyare Davis. He is a career 29% outside shooter, so he was really efficient from beyond the arc this season. However, I also did not see this coming, which was his really poor defense. He had an Evan Maya defensive rating of negative 0.11. That being said, would I have liked Jyare Davis to come back? Absolutely. I thought he brought good physicality this season. He's more of a backup than he is a starter, but he did have to start more games because obviously Donnie Freeman was out for over half the year due to injury, and Chris Bell decided to regress into one of the worst players in college basketball. I digress. That's Jyare Davis. Now let's get to Jaquan Carlos and Lucas Taylor. They're transfers from Hofstra and Georgia State, respectively. Thank you and best of luck in the future. Naheem McLeod, transfer from FSU in 2023. Thank you for your time here. Best of luck in the future. That's what I will say on Jaquan Carlos, Lucas Taylor, and Naheem McLeod. So 5 players are completely out of eligibility: Eddie Lampkin, Jyare Davis, Jaquan Carlos, Lucas Taylor, and Naheem McLeod. I love to hear from you in the comments section. Who do you think Syracuse basketball is going to miss the most out of the players out of eligibility? Comment in the comment section below for you right now. My answer is Eddie Lampkin. I assume that most of you all will say the same thing. But good news is Syracuse does have 4 freshmen coming in, and it's one of the top classes overall in the country. You got Sadiq White, a 6'8", 190-pound forward. He is a consensus high-end 4-star recruit. He ranks anywhere nationally between the high 20s and the low 30s, and he is known as being one of the top defenders in the entire nation. So Syracuse basketball, a team that struggled with defense, hopefully Sadiq White can help out as soon as a true freshman next year, right? You also got Kiyan Anthony, the son of Carmelo Anthony, a 6'5", 185-pound guard, also a consensus high-end 4-star recruit. He's slightly lower nationally than Sadiq White. He ranks anywhere between the low 30s and the high 40s nationally. Actually, Rivals has him as the lowest at 48 overall in the country. But still, consensus top 50 guy in the nation. He is known as being a scorer, but please, please, please try to ignore that he is the son of Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony, when he committed to Syracuse in 2002, was the best high school basketball player in the country. And if he wasn't the best high school basketball player in the country, he was the second best high school basketball player in the country. Kiyan Anthony, he's a highly ranked prospect, and he could be a really good player, maybe even an NBA player. But he is not Carmelo Anthony. This is not someone who is going to come to Syracuse next year and be the main focal point of a team that wins the national championship. Okay? Expectations should be high based on where his recruiting ranking is, but I am not putting Carmelo Anthony expectations on Kiyan Anthony. Now you got Luke Fennell, 6'6", 190-pound guard from Australia. He is a 4-star recruit on 24/7 Sports and on ESPN. He is ranked 123 overall in the country on 24/7 Sports, but overall, he is a composite 3-star player. Ideally, he plays a small role in the team next year, and in the year after, he's ready to take on a bigger role in year 2. And finally, you got Aaron Womack, 6'6", 170-pound forward, a consensus 3-star recruit. I have spoken to multiple recruiting analysts about Aaron Womack, and they have come to the same conclusion, which is that Aaron Womack is a project. He is a project recruit. He is probably going to need a year or two to develop into a rotational player for Syracuse basketball. I would not necessarily rule out a redshirt this upcoming season, although that's not necessarily that common nowadays to redshirt. Sometimes a project recruit can work out. We saw that with Jesse Edwards at Syracuse basketball. It took him a few years, but once he developed into one of the best centers in the ACC. Sometimes a project recruit is not going to work out. A guy like William Patterson is an example of that. Projects are projects. You're throwing darts at the dartboard, and you're just hoping that one of them hits the bullseye, I guess. Hard to come up with an analogy for that. So, you got 5 players who are out of eligibility. You got 4 players who are coming in as true freshmen. Of course, the transfer portal opens up in just about a week. So we'll talk about all the transfers coming in when those start to happen.